Ladies and gentlemen, hold on. Are the Epstein files out yet? No? Okay. How about now? Are they, All right, just checking. You'll let me know. Stop me in mid-sentence if anything happens over there.
Donald Trump was having a lunatic meltdown all last night as his supporters are loudly turning against him. So Donald Trump decides, let me take it out on the Somali population in Minnesota and tell the 705 Somalis that have temporary protected status in Minnesota, I'm revoking it. And Donald Trump's like, the Somalis are all involved in fraud. I'm targeting Somalis in Minnesota. Okay. Well, this follows Donald Trump inviting Zoran Mamdani into the White House. I don't think I've ever seen Donald Trump happier. Trump was starstruck at Mamdani. I mean, look at Donald Trump smile and fawn over Mamdani. Then Donald Trump, after this meeting, was just posting photos like it was a great honor meeting with Zoran Mamdani, the new mayor of New York City. He posts photos of himself in front of portraits of FDR. But leading up to this meeting, Donald Trump's like, I'm gonna have this communist show up and I'm gonna show him. And Donald Trump's like, this guy isn't even a legal citizen. And Trump's like, we're gonna show him how you do it in MAGA. I mean, Trump says the most like despicable and defamatory things about Zoran Mamdani on social media.
You wanna know what really drives Donald Trump crazy? It's not losing elections. It's not criminal indictments. It's not even his tanking approval ratings. What absolutely destroys Trump is when someone makes fun of him on national television and gets away with it. And nobody, and I mean nobody, has gotten under Trump's skin quite like Stephen Colbert. So let me tell you the story of how Colbert has systematically dismantled Trump piece by piece on late night television, survived Trump's attempts to silence him.
Because yesterday, after months of Trump fighting tooth and cankle to hold back the Republican Party from doing the right thing, he just went ahead and gave up and signed the bill to release the Epstein files. Yeah. One day you're gonna have a very complicated conversation with your grandchildren about why you just cheered. This is such a difficult moment for Trump. We don't know if he actually signed the bill himself. He might have just used his mechanical signature machine, the auto pube, because...
But then when Mamdani's there in person, what does Donald Trump do? Donald Trump smiles, and it's so great to see you. Trump was starstruck. By the way, similar way that Donald Trump deals with California Governor Gavin Newsom, right? Trump would be like, Newsom, he's the worst governor, Newsom this, Newsom that. And then when Donald Trump visited California, remember during the wildfires where Trump was spreading all of those lies, and California Governor Gavin Newsom was standing right there on the tarmac, taller than Donald Trump, stronger than Donald Trump. He shook Donald Trump's hand, and then he just kind of gave a little fist bump into Donald Trump's chest, and you saw how weak Donald Trump is. And Newsom's like, you want to tell the press, Newsom, you want to go out and say those things? Go ahead. And Donald Trump, when he was actually there dealing with the confrontation, he couldn't handle it. He wasn't confrontational. Trump backed down. I think it's Governor Newsom is so right when he says, you know, Donald Trump is weakness masquerading as strength, but it's not even strength anymore that's being masqueraded as.
And is now delivering some of the most brutal takedowns of Trump's presidency that we've ever seen. This is a masterclass in how to fight back against a bully who happens to be sitting in the Oval Office. Before we get into the details of Colbert's epic destruction of Trump, hit that subscribe button. We're documenting every moment of resistance against this administration, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. Let's start with July 2025, because that's when things got really interesting. CBS shocked the entire entertainment industry by announcing that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert would be canceled and end in May 2026. Now, this wasn't just surprising, it was suspicious as hell.
Even though Trump told Republicans to all vote for this, he was clearly furious that they did. He signed the bill after the White House issued a so-called photo lid, which shut down any on-camera opportunities. He signed it off camera, and he'll sign anything on camera. Executive orders, sneakers, lady parts, wall parts, a toddler. Trump is avoiding cameras. That's like the Pillsbury Doughboy avoiding nudity.
And so I think it's just important that we all exert the moral and formal authority that we have, especially heading into Thanksgiving, and stand up and push back at these weak, pathetic MAGA losers and stand behind our values as people who love democracy, people who are empathetic, people who care about the environment, who support equality, who uplift marginalized communities, who care that people get health care, that support free health care, that support free and great education, that support jobs for Americans and make sure that Americans have affordable housing. Let's stand up and be damn proud about it and stop backing down to these weak, pathetic MAGA losers. We can do it, folks. And that's what I think this week has been inspiring. When you stand up to this regime backs down. They huff and they puff and they'll blow your house down. But you want to know who the real piggies are? Trump.
Here's why. Colbert's show was #1 in the late night ratings. He was consistently beating Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, and every other competitor. The show had just won an Emmy for Best Talk Series. By every normal metric, The Late Show was successful. So why would CBS kill its top-rated late-night program? The answer might have something to do with timing. Just 2 weeks before the cancellation announcement, Paramount Global, CBS's parent company, agreed to pay Trump $16 million to settle a lawsuit over a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. Trump had sued, claiming the interview was deceptively edited.
More proof that these files are making Trump soil his ample briefs? Well, last night, he went online to shift blame to Democrats with a full Unabomber-length manifesto. There it is. Imagine if you got that as a text. Well, I do not have to read all of that, bro. I do not have the time. I'm just going to hit you with a ha-ha. Now,
and these MAGAs, and I love that Governor Newsom's mocking them like this. This little piggy is waiting on the Epstein files to be released. It's a real photo of Donald Trump right there. Obviously, the pig face was superimposed, but it may as well be Donald Trump's real face. Governor Newsom says that's okay. He took a nap earlier, and he's got his little piggy legs, Trump's piggy legs. And then Governor Newsom goes, "Good night, piggy. Good night, piggy." By the way, did you see that Fox didn't know how to even handle the Trump meeting with Zoran Mamdani, where the press was like, "So, do you think that Mamdani's going to make a great mayor?" Trump's like, "Yeah, I think he's going to be a great mayor." "Well, he's called you a fascist before." Trump's like, "Well, call me whatever I want. He called me a fascist. I get, just call me a fascist. It's fine."
Legal experts said the lawsuit was completely meritless, but Paramount paid anyway. And here's the kicker. Paramount was seeking approval from the Trump administration for an $8 billion merger with Skydance Media. That merger needed sign-off from the FCC, which is controlled by Trump's appointee, Brendan Carr. Now, 3 days before CBS announced Colbert's cancellation, Colbert went on his show and called that $16 million settlement exactly what it was. Looking directly into the camera, Colbert said, "While I was on vacation, my parent corporation, Paramount, paid Donald Trump a $16 million settlement over his 60 Minutes lawsuit. As someone who has been a proud employee of this network, I am offended, and I don't know if anything will ever repair my trust in this company. But just taking a stab at it, I'd say 16 million would help."
Trump tried to claim credit for the thing he desperately fought to stop. "As everybody knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass this bill. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in favor of passage." Right. So in a way, he won. It reminds me of Julius Caesar's famous last words, "Great job, Brute."
Watch after the meeting, Fox is like, "Just one word." Wow. Here, play this clip.
Just one word, wow. Kami Mamdani, as the president has quoted, referring to his guest in the Oval Office there for the past several months, looked like best friends with President Trump now. I mean, it was an extraordinary meeting. We missed, of course, the conversation they were having before they met with the press that went on for about a half hour. The meeting, according to both men, was very cordial. The president saying he wants Mamdani to succeed as best as he can to make New York what it can and should be.
Then he got serious. This is a big fat bribe, Colbert declared. 3 days later, his show was canceled. And if you think Trump's attacks on comedy are dangerous for free speech, make sure you like this video and share it. People need to see what's happening. When CBS announced the cancellation, Trump couldn't contain his glee. At 9 a.m. on Friday morning, Trump posted on Truth Social, "I absolutely love that Colbert got fired. His talent was even less than his ratings. I hear Jimmy Kimmel is next. Has even less talent than Colbert. Greg Gutfeld is better than all of them combined, including the moron on NBC who ruined the once great Tonight Show."
So, Trump signed the bill. It is now law. The Epstein files must be released. Specifically, the Justice Department now has 30 days to publish whatever information it has, meaning the deadline is December 19th. So it's going to be a very special Jake Gyllenhaal's birthday. And I wouldn't have made that reference, Jake, if you ever invited me to your party.
And this is how the New York Post was describing it as: Mamdani Trump's expected slugfest turns into a love fest as president says socialists will make New York City greater than ever before. Trump said he would feel at ease living in New York City under Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani after their chummy Oval Office meeting on Friday. Quote, "Yeah, I would, especially after the meeting. Absolutely," Trump told reporters when asked, "Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?" So fascinating, so fascinating. Okay, let's talk about a few other topics though. Consumer expectations, consumer sentiment, the lowest ever in United States history, based on the University of Michigan survey. The University of Michigan has been taking this survey for about 70 years, measuring consumer expectations and sentiment. Right now, consumers heading into Thanksgiving feel worse than at any time in the history of this poll.
Think about that for a second. The President of the United States was celebrating the cancellation of a late-night comedy show. He was so obsessed with a comedian that he had to publicly gloat about getting him fired. But Trump made one critical mistake. He left Colbert alive, and he left him with 10 more months on the air. So on the following Monday, Colbert opened his show with what might be the most defiant moment in late-night television history. The audience was chanting, "Stephen, Stephen, Stephen," as he walked out. Folks, I'm gonna go ahead and say it. Cancel culture has gone too far, Colbert joked.
So soon, we're going to see every document of the Epstein files. And if you believe that, Donald Trump has an East Wing he'd like to sell you. Because the Justice Department is going to look through the documents first and, quote, "what information they may include and how redacted the documents may be remains to be seen." Or unseen. By the time Trump's people are finished with their El Marcos, the release could be a single black page with the words, "Bill Clinton." One thing I don't usually like to change.
Worse than the Great Recession, worse than when the dot-com bubble burst, worse than during COVID, because the American people are suffering. Things are far less affordable right now. Trump is ripping healthcare away. People see the jobless reports, the worst since the Great Recession, and COVID. Unemployment's ticked up to 4.4%. I think it'll be 5 to 5.5% before the year ends. And then, as I said, Donald Trump just does cruel stuff every day. Like last night, he posts, "Minnesota under Governor Walz is a hub of fraudulent money laundering activity. As the president, I'm terminating effective, immediately temporary protective status for Somalis in Minnesota because Somali gangs are terrorizing the people of that great state." As I said before, there are 705 Somalis on TPS, and you can't just revoke it like that. It expires in like 2026 or 2027. Yeah, March 17th, 2026. So you can't just immediately terminate. And he just picks on marginalized groups. So let's just be clear. Somalis don't deserve this at all, and we stand in solidarity with you. Just to say, the Somalis, how dare Donald Trump?
Over the weekend, it sunk in that they're killing off our show, but they made one mistake. They left me alive. Then Colbert read Trump's Truth Social post attacking his talent. With mock outrage, Colbert said, "How dare you, sir? Would an untalented man be able to compose the following satirical witticism?" The camera zoomed in on what Colbert called the eloquence cam. He stared directly into the lens and, in a clipped New York accent, said, "Go fuck yourself." The place exploded. The audience roared their approval for nearly 15 seconds straight. People were on their feet cheering, and Colbert just stood there soaking it in, knowing he had just delivered one of the most perfect fuck you moments in television history. But Colbert wasn't done. He had 10 months left, and he was going to use every single one of them to expose Trump.
One thing we know will definitely be redacted is anything that, quote, would jeopardize an active federal investigation. Well, there's a coinky-dink. Because just last week, Trump demanded the Justice Department open an investigation into Democrats who are mentioned in Epstein's emails. Attorney General Pam Bondi agreed to this demand less than 4 hours later, which is strange because back in July, Bondi said they wouldn't be releasing any more information on the Jeffrey Epstein case and that the case is essentially now closed. So yesterday, Bondi was asked about that.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information that new information, additional information.
Smooth.
Then, cruel things like this. As you know from watching the Midas Touch Network, I have a lot of friends who are nurses. We've worked very closely with nurses and advocating for nurses having good working conditions and just uplifting nurses. They're the front lines, right, of medical care, and sometimes they always get the short end of things. And I hate that. And I love nurses. And so I'll just show you what the Department of Education's doing. They no longer consider nurses as a professional degree. That's one of the Trump policies over the past 40 hours, right? One was swastikas and nooses and the Confederate flag should no longer be deemed hate symbols in the military. And they were called out on that. They're like, oopsies, okay, we didn't really mean it. And then their other plan on Friday was nurses are no longer deemed to have professional degrees. Like, who's sitting around at the table right now with all the problems that Americans are suffering from because of this regime, with prices going up, with people being unable to afford homes, with healthcare being ripped away, the Affordable Care Act subsidies not being extended? You have Trump and these people in these Oval Office, these grotesque human beings going, hey, it would be a good idea? What would it be, JD? You like your couch, JD? Oh, I think it'd be a great idea. Let's take away nursing degrees and say that nurses aren't professionals. Let's just attack nurses.
He cannot handle anyone pointing out his failures, his corruption, or his connections to sex offenders like Jeffrey Epstein, so he uses his power to try to silence people. He celebrated when Kimmel was briefly suspended in September. He gloated when Colbert was canceled. He constantly attacks Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, and anyone else who dares to make fun of him. But interestingly, Trump has been completely silent about South Park, even after they depicted him fully naked, begging Satan for sex, with his genitalia visible multiple times. You know why? Because South Park gets insane ratings. As comedian Patton Oswalt pointed out, nothing shuts up Trump like money. Stephen Colbert has 10 months left on the air, 10 months to expose Trump's corruption, mock his failures, and speak truth to power. And based on what we've seen so far, he's not holding anything back. The Epstein files are coming. Trump's approval ratings are cratering, and every night Stephen Colbert is there, reminding America exactly who this man is and why he doesn't deserve the office he holds. Trump wanted to silence Colbert. Instead, he gave him the greatest final season in late-night television history, and we're all here for it.